successfully, then I lift the world up. I may not know how it works. I don't have to know how it works. That is our teaching, that I affect everything, and so do all of us. And do we think about that very often? Do we think about, we tend to focus on what's, if I have something wrong and how something can affect me, but we can have this little compartment that's beside us that says, and whatever good I do for myself, I'm doing it for the world. If I want to be more successful in what I do, and I know that for myself, there is more success. It's just the way the consciousness works. We believe in one mind. We're all participating in it. Sometimes we're participating in parts of it we would rather not participate in. But it's our own conscious thinking, when we are consciously knowing what we know for the good, that it does make a difference. Now, I also know that all of us know things and operate from places that we're not even thinking about. We've just almost gone unconscious. I mean, that's part of the reason why I couldn't find my purse this morning. I was looking everywhere, and I couldn't find it. Now, I knew it was there, so it's not like I was in a panic mode. And eventually I could go, maybe I left it in the car, and that's where it was. But I'm just saying we are not, that's a small thing, and it's not consequential. But when I tried to print this morning, it wouldn't print. It just wouldn't print. It was printing the announcements. Finally, I asked Doris to print the announcements for me. 15 minutes later, my copy of the announcements came out. I can't explain that. That's just things that happen. And it's not up to me to freeze up because things don't work out or don't work out the way I planned. And how many of us have that happen in our lives? We have plans, we kind of want to do things, but things didn't quite work out the way we planned. I know I'm not the only one. You don't have to raise your hand. But it is something to think about, because what happens to us is not to us. We're part of the whole process, even if it's with appearances that I don't like. I believe in a loving universe, even when appearances argue against that. And so if that's true, and I believe that it is true, then what that means is when something happens that I don't like, and maybe I think it shouldn't have happened, that's not true. It happened. So that means it should have happened. How often do you think that? That if it happened, that it should have happened? I learned that particular way of thinking from Byron Katie. If you know her, she is a magnificent writer, and she's had some amazing experiences in her life that brought her to where she is. And she says that he will say, he shouldn't have done that. She said, yes, he should, because he did. It shouldn't have happened. Yes, it should, because it did. And so by reading that so often, I want to think that I don't ever go to that place it shouldn't have happened. And so I invite you to consider that. What's happening in the world, what's happening in our communities, what's happening everywhere, is happening because of what it should have been doing. And so I was thinking in the time while we are knowing that Reverend Mary arrives, perhaps that, number one, I would answer some questions. Someone suggested that. But I think we could also just simply go into a prayer treatment. And so I'm open to whatever it is that there is need for in those of you who are here. Because it is the notion that prayer is what we do, and that's how we meet things in our best and highest best self. We go into that space to bring about a better world for ourselves and for everyone else. And so if there's anything that anyone wants to say or wants to ask, then the man with the microphone is back there ready to rush to your side. And we have a hand here.
Thanks so much, Reverend Catherine. I was thinking, here we are waiting for Mary. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have some prayers?
Just a little louder. Just into the microphone.
Do what?
Just so I can hear.
You mean just put it
No, into the microphone. I wasn't hearing you.
Oh, okay.
No, I know it's.
I thought you were saying it was too loud,
that's
and I was
right.
like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, I was saying that I was thinking of how we might use this time and thinking, gosh, I would love if we could have prayer because that's something we could do. And then you said that, and I thought, oh, that's so great. I would love to have prayer. And my brother Rob had cataract surgery. I was going to be on 2 eyes just a few days ago. And he said they were working on 1 eye, and hear the doctor say, oh, my, that's too bad, which didn't make Rob feel too good. And what happened was something tore when they were trying to slip the new lens into whatever it goes into. It tore. And so he said that they didn't do the second eye, of course. And so he said instead of what he was expecting was really improved vision, it's all blurry because all of this liquid has seeped out into the eye. So he was going to be able to drive and do all these wonderful things, which is a setback, you know. But it came to me when I was talking to him the other day, I said, you know, let's visualize and know that the body has these amazing healing capabilities. And let's just imagine that healing and the doctor being surprised and saying that almost never happens, but look at that, it's improved so much. And I would love to have the consciousness of our group and your words to affirm that idea. And I love that you mentioned Deepak Chopra's book and all, it just all fits together. But I do believe that this can happen and will happen. And I would love to have everybody affirming that. Thank you.
There was someone that came up in the book who was diagnosed with something that would end his life if he didn't get the medical treatment. And he just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And it happened even in Deepak Chopra's practice. He was, the man he told him he was going to do surgery and then radiation, I think, is what was called for. That was the protocol. And the man said, no, I'm not going to do that. 8 years later, the man came back and he had a melanoma of some kind. And Deepak said, I finally realized this was the same man I saw 8 years ago. He shouldn't be alive. And he goes on to say he could have been gone in 6 months or maybe 9 months, but certainly not, even if he had the treatment, maybe 5 years. And here it is 8 years. And when he did x-rays, he didn't have any cancer tumors in his lungs. His lungs were fine. And so he's come back for this melanoma treatment. And so they talked to him about it. He said, I'm not going to do that. And so he goes away, and he hasn't even seen him at the writing of this book. He's just assuming that whatever he does or doesn't do, it's worked for him. So that is what Deepak Chopra is aiming for, this mind-body thing, because our bodies have an intelligence. And we don't think about it that way, but it has an intelligence. Each cell has that intelligence. And that is not the way we think of it. And so it is, I think it's partly because it's so unknown to each of us. I mean, it's not like we can look in there and see. And so we've tended to trust outside things more and more and more and more in our culture. And in that case, this is somebody who didn't. And so is that what you were saying about that in that particular case? Okay, just making, it was, and I know there are other people who've done that, and they don't necessarily reflect the statistics. And that is the exploration of those sudden remissions is what science is paying more attention to. And, maybe by the end of the book we'll know more than that. But I know, gosh, it's been 25 years ago, we had a big health fair of some sort here at this center. I don't know if any of you all were here in the 90s. Dr. Frank was still here. And they had a really big event that went over several days. And there was a man whose name was Carl Symington. I even remember that. And he spoke in the sanctuary to quite a large group of people because he was a medical doctor who really was essentially in the same place that that Deepak Chopra was, and that's what he was talking about. And this is in the 90s. And so this is, it is something that has evolved as more people have recognized there is something else going on in these bodies. These bodies are not just responding to, what is that colorful way that it's put, that cancer is treated, by cutting, by burning, or poisoning, or something like that. And there are people who just refuse to do that. They feel like that alone is an assault on their body. And so they are wanting another way. And, there are others who are completely cured by doing the medical way. And I don't know that we get to, if it's us, we have to decide. There's not somebody else that can truly advise us which way that we go if we get a diagnosis like that. I think that all of us know if we get really quiet and know what we need to do. And when there's situations in the world that seem to defy solutions, and so many of the what should I say, the people who are in the force of doing things can't make up their minds about what to do. And people that are in the streets and they're sure they've decided what we need to do, so that's what they're trying to push forward. And it is how many of us truly feel that we know. I mean, we know that God knows, and I know that when God knows and shows us the way, then I can follow that. And that is the only thing I really do know. I really am sort of refusing to have an opinion and keep knowing that the world can heal itself as each of us participate in knowing that it's so without picking sides. And that's just what I've come to, because I think it just doesn't, too much of it doesn't make sense. Plus, I also know there's so much I don't know. No matter how much I listen and read, there's so much I don't know. And so what I do know is that there is a power for good in this universe, and I can use it. I do believe that and know that. So, would we like to begin a prayer treatment for this situation that many of us find us in? Is that okay? Well, I've got to sit down. But I'm going to sit on this step so I have something to lean against, because I like that. So I take this opportunity in this beautiful space, this physical space that I'm in. I take this opportunity to simply breathe into the moment and allow myself to cast aside, or at least allow to fall away, all of the things that will occupy the real estate of my conscious thinking, left to their own devices, the things that may be clamoring for my attention. And there's always many of those. But in this moment, I can give myself the moment where I breathe in, knowing that the power And presence of Spirit is in every breath I breathe. And I allow myself to know that and practice that as I breathe in deeply. And I like to think that I'm exhaling those things that really don't belong. Whether it's my lungs exhaling things I don't need anymore, or whether it's my mind that's simply allowing those opinions and those emotions and the wrongs and the rights, I just allow them to go away. We often think of that place beyond right doing and wrong doing. And that's where I want to be in this moment. I see it in a lovely, slightly grassy field. And in my eyesight, there is the tops of mountains, but this is a valley, and it's green and it's verdant. And there's a water source over to one side. It's beautiful. And it is beyond right doing and wrong doing. And as I stand in that beautiful place, I decide to make that place my home for now. And so I snuggle into a comfortable position and simply allow the beauty, the peace, the effervescent quality of full life all around me, however still it is. I allow that to be my place. And so as I settle into that place and I allow myself to feel extremely comfortable, I rise up in my consciousness to the tops of those hills. I look up and I see the beautiful way that life can simply resolve all conflicts. Anything that doesn't need to be in that space simply dissolves. I don't give it any encouragement. I don't give it any pressure. I don't give it a thought. I simply know that by lifting my consciousness, by looking up into the hills from whence my help comes, I'm looking up in consciousness. I'm looking up in wisdom. I'm looking up in understanding. And without calling on any one thing, I open my consciousness and allow Spirit to just pour itself through me. My individual use of this consciousness is receiving exactly what it needs to be at peace, to be at a place of knowing that no matter what is going on around me, that God is here. God is within me. God is without me. The Spirit, the presence is emanating from me. And I go further and know that everyone that I meet, everyone that I say, everyone that I even contemplate is also that unique expression of God. I don't say accept. I don't say even if I can't know it. I just simply know it. I don't allow encumbrances to stand between me and the notion that all souls live in the consciousness of God. Life is eternal. Love is eternal. And everything that moves through this experience is an expression of the living God. So with that idea, I know that there is nothing that can't be handled. I don't have to know how. And I may not ever know how. But just as tumors can go into remission without my understanding the how, peace can come without my understanding how. But it is important to me that I support that idea. And support the idea with no strings attached. That there is a way that works itself through the consciousness of the world. And I want to know that it happens. That the movement toward that is happening now, right now. Wherever I am, wherever all souls are, it is happening now. Because peace has no boundary. Goodness, beauty, perfection has no boundary. There are no limits unless I put them there in my thinking. So I'm allowing myself to dissolve those, just dissolve the limits. And as I look up and keep my gaze in that celestial idea of knowing that my consciousness is high. And it has no room for the grubby details that seem to want to jump out at me at times. What I know is that there is a power in my thought, my closely held thought, that when I know that thought and keep my focus on the one thought, it begins its manifestation. It begins in that moment. I know that to be true, and I allow myself to spread the idea that this one thing that's going on is God in action. And when God knows that I know and that all know, it is absolutely done. I can only know for myself, but as I know for myself, I know the freedom of thought for everyone who is not in the sound of my voice, who is beyond, but that they know that freedom of clarity of thinking, that urge to lift higher, to have a better way, to have a better notion of what peace is, and that it is at hand, and that it is real, and it is moving through me. So I settled into my comfortable place in the valley beyond right doing and wrong doing. And I come within and continue to breathe. And feeling the beauty, feeling perhaps a breeze on my face, knowing that all is truly well. I'm really grateful to know that there is this power that follows my word and moves behind it, gives it the impetus, and makes it so. So in deep gratitude, not only for all the blessings I enjoy in this life, but for the notion that there is a power in this universe that I can always use, no matter what. And I am using it. And I'm loving this universe I live in. And I'm allowing myself to see it as whole and perfect and totally complete. So in deep gratitude, I release this word. And I know that this word has wings. As the Spirit takes this word into the creative process, is the creative process, and makes it so. And I simply agree and say, and so it is. Does anyone have a comment or that you want to add to anything? All the way over there. Thank you, Grant. Isn't the power of technology wonderful? That week that we didn't have tech people, we were having to pretend. We really missed you. Yes.
I've had a sore foot since I had surgery 17 months ago. So I was at a Christmas party, and I met a woman that worked in the medical field, and she told me I could use a light frequency sticker on my foot. It would reduce the inflammation. She gave me one, and it worked. So the light frequency comes from the body. There's no medicine in it or anything like that. And I ordered it, so it's arriving today. I only used one the other day. I just thought that was really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't that interesting? That just happened at a Christmas party. Yeah. I think there's another hand.
Earlier when you were talking about that shouldn't have happened, and by acknowledging it should have happened, it happened. I had a lot of thoughts about that, and often I feel guilty about things I've done, but that I should have done it. I did it. It should have happened. I know that the things that I did wrong have changed me in better ways. So.
Well, I think you're connecting to something that I think too. When something happens, whether it's medical or something else, that I really don't like, and I want to say it shouldn't have happened, my next thought really has to be, what is it that I learned from this that perhaps I have refused to learn before? And it reminds me of one of my favorite Deepak Chopra things, and I don't know what book it's in, but he says to remember that your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts. And we have thoughts that are not necessarily conscious thoughts. You know, we are a real morass of subconscious. It's part of who we are. It's just the way everything works. I don't pretend to understand all of it, but I accept that when things just rise up within me, there are times in my life when I go, where did that come from? Well, obviously, if I'm thinking it didn't come from somebody else. It came from me. And so if it's something that I don't like and the conscious way of looking at it, then that's my moment to change it. And so what I think Deepak says is you can pay attention to those things that come up, and maybe the next time it comes up, you get a little shove. And maybe if you don't pay attention to it, you eventually just get kicked out the window because you're not paying attention to your own thoughts. And so that's what I think you're referring to. So all of us, when we have those ideas that maybe we don't like or something that happens, maybe that's just a wake-up call for something that needs to get handled and needs to get done. And I think sometimes forgetting things is one of those types of things. And of course, I think when I can't remember where I put my purse or where I did something, I have a feeling I'm filling up my bucket of memory and it's just sort of overflowing and some things have spilled out. So, their message is still for me either way. It's not for anybody else, it's for me. And so I like your example too. Thank you.
Good morning. You know, when I was in the healing mood, I said I'm a healthy cell circulating in the body of the universe. And I said that to every treatment, everything that was put in or taken out, etc. And what I'm getting this morning is I love Reverend Mary and when she gives the talk. So I felt, I love you too, of course, over there. But what I got when I was listening to This Shouldn't Have Happened, this happened. And I look at our holy realm here that was filled with Dr. Mara at her gala. That was the salad, our wonderful Ruth's Christmas. We are a powerful group. And this morning, I hadn't heard about the freeways, etc., but it seems to me the universe, God, spirit, whatever we call the quantum universe, wants us praying right now for what's happening. We would not know this if Reverend Mary wasn't on her way. And I think that's a very powerful place. Because Ann and I, we've been friends forever, and we say, what can we do?
As you speak, she comes in the door.
Oh, well, look at that. Welcome, Reverend Mary, the powerful, powerful. And thank you, Reverend Catherine, so much.
I think first and foremost, we ought to give a giant applause to Reverend Catherine for oh no, just wow. So I was on the sanctuary of the 110 freeway again, and I met. Thank you, Reverend Catherine. Thank you so. I mean, I call up and I'm like, she's like, okay, I'll handle it. She
Well,
was
we
perfect.
didn't do much Q&A. We ended up doing mostly a prayer treatment.
Oh,
because
great.
Someone else said something about doing a prayer treatment, so I thought that must be an idea.
That's wonderful.
So that's what
That's
we've done.
wonderful.
So I'm
I-
going to...
Oh, yes, yes. I guess 'tis the season, huh? Oh, my goodness. So there was a... Oh, I think it's on. It's on. So there was a protest going on the 110 freeway. And so then sometimes you can do alternate routes, and the alternate routes were worse than the route where the protest was, because there was a truck that fell over on the 101, and some other thing happened on the 5, and then on the 405 it said it was going to take me an hour and 45 minutes. And I thought, well, I'm already 2 hours into this drive, so let's see. So I was like, do I turn around? I'm like, no, you just keep going forward. So I guess we had some prayer treatments, and it's good to be here. It's good to see you all, and I love all your Christmas garb. I had a couple things I just wanted to share, and I know you guys have been here for a while, so we'll keep it short, but I wanted to just share. In fact, I looked over and read this while I was in dead stop traffic, and I said, thank you, Ernest. My talk title was, All is Calm, All is Bright. So I woke up this morning, and I have Dish, and I have a DVR, and the DVR kept making sounds, and I kept calling Dish and going, I got this new DVR, but it sounds like a vacuum cleaner. And they're like, oh, you've got to put it out in the open. I said, well, it's kind of out in the open, but it's on a shelf. And they said, we have to take it off the shelf. I'm like, well, where would you like me to put it if it's not on a surface? They said, just put it out. I'm like, so I was like, okay, whatever. So the thing blew up this morning, and that's good. God bless you. We did a little treatment for him and said, on your way. And then I went to go on the internet because I wanted to look something up. Internet is down. Okay. Then I get on the freeway at 9 o'clock, and they say, oh, there's a protest. Okay. So we thought, well, by the time I get to downtown, I'm sure they'll have moved the folks over. Well, no, they did not. And the protest is actually still going on, but they opened like 3 of the lanes. So, and I get it. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. And I thought, how funny. What an interesting thing. The protesters want to protest their irritation and their upset and their anger and their just sadness at what's going on at Gaza and with the Hamas and with the Palestinians. But what they did was they created, I can tell you there's like 1 million angry people right now sitting on the freeway because everywhere that they rerouted us, they'd go, you'll save 6 minutes if you take a left on 6th Street. So I'm like, okay, and then take a left. You'll save 9 minutes if you take a right on Broadway. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm right back where I started. So they sent me in a circle twice. So I said, isn't that interesting? I thought, what am I supposed to learn from this? I thought, sometimes I think when we have our best interests at heart, sometimes we create more chaos than we meant to because we're mad about the chaos. And I thought, oh, you know what? All is calm, all is bright. Be in that stillness. And I thought, well, I just kept blessing everything. And I tell you, I did not know where I was. And I'm listening to the GPS, take a left here, and I'm like, I'm not going to take a left there. That doesn't feel right. I'm going to go this way. It's like, okay, go over here and take a right, take one block over, and then you're on the freeway. I'm like, I didn't even know where I was. And I kind of just said, okay, God, you're in charge. But God's always in charge as long as you get in that flow. But I was going to share the Ernest Holmes quote because I thought it's so beautiful. Deep within each and every one of us, there is a place of calm, of peace, of security, where trouble and accidents do not occur, where the truth and love reign supreme, and good is the only power. It is to this place that daily we go in the silence of our own minds to commune with Spirit that is both around us and within us. I have goosebumps when I'm reading that. And I read that a couple times while I was sitting in dead stop traffic going, he's right. There's always that option that we have to get into the calm, even in the midst of conditions that are out there that can seem kooky, like your DVR blows up and you're like, oh, I don't have a TV, what am I going to do? No, you know what? Just go with the flow. Something great's going to happen. And something beautiful did happen. And I got here and it's like, you know what? It was the fastest 2.5 hours of my life, I think. But I'm going to leave that down. I had a couple other things I wanted to read. And one of them was I don't know if you've ever heard of Melody Beatty, but she's brilliant. And this one it's a daily thing, and it's called A Journey of the Heart. And I haven't read it in a long time, but I have a bazillion books. Anybody else have a bazillion books? Oh, I love them, though. I read them. I go in, and I check them out. I really do. So it's like they're like my friends. So, but I loved what she had to say for today. Oh, it's very tiny print. Sometimes the picture isn't finished yet. Ideas, possibilities, hopes, and dreams, they float around us, circling like asteroids around our planet. We may think events in our lives are happening aimlessly without a purpose. All we see are disconnections and floating bits. We reach for them, we try to grab them in our hands, and we try to connect with them and force them to become whole, force them to be a picture that we can see something that would make sense in our lives. Have you ever done that? When things seem so crazy, you just try to make something out of it. It's like, it ain't working. So her advice is, let the pieces be. Let yourself be. Let life be. Sometimes chaos needs to precede order. When I read this morning, I had no idea there was a protest going on the freeway. But I thought, you know what? Something good is coming out of this. I mean, obviously, I'm letting that percolate. I thought, okay, I have to let life be. No, because sometimes you can't control the traffic. You can't get protesters off a freeway. And you're going to hear all about it. They're talking all about it on the news because they're still on the freeway a bit. And it's insane downtown. It's crazy. I was waving to people, letting people in, and everybody was, it is what it is. The pieces will come together into a picture that will make sense, and it will be a beautiful work of art in your life. You don't have to force the pieces together if it's not their time. So think about that. Does anybody read the Daily Word? Everybody, yeah, and today's was divine order. Divine right order, and everything happens in its time. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, all right, hurry up already. Come on, I want this to happen. But there is a time and a place. I was thinking about the winter because, this is the season of light with Hanukkah, but it's also coming up on the 17th is going to be the shortest day of the year. I say hallelujah, because then I can walk a little bit later after the 17th, because it gets dark so early. And I thought, and I don't know about you, but when it gets dark and it's been dark for a while, all of a sudden I get tired and I just want to have my hot cocoa and watch my Hallmark movies, you know? And I thought, this is so, yesterday I was like, gosh, I'm getting tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only 10 after 6. But it felt like it had been dark for so long, you kind of go, and I thought, well, isn't it interesting? It's winter time. It's a time of reduced light. And everything has its season, you know, and this is the time to say, slow down. Go ahead and be calm, and go ahead and be still, and go ahead and not have to figure everything out, and just be with it, even if you can't get it together. Just be with what's happening. And the moment you do that, you can just kind of take a breath like, oh, I don't have to hold the whole world up, do I? I don't know about anybody else, but this is a busy time. Our little Ruth here has a very busy time going on in her lovely home with all kinds of things happening. And I look at her home and marvel like, oh my God, I get exhausted looking at it. And I thought, oh my goodness. But it's a time where the universe is saying, slow down. Just appreciate things, especially at Christmas. You know, we get a time to be with our loved ones. We don't know how long we have with anybody. We never know how long we have with anybody. And the moment things get questionable, it's time to sit back and go, man, I appreciate where I'm at. Man, I appreciate that I'm alive. Man, I appreciate that I'm safe. Man, I appreciate the people I love in my life. And I appreciate all that. And the moment you do that, you're present. You're in the spot that you want to be. You don't have to force the pieces to fit together. If it's not their time, you don't have to know everything. There is a power sometimes in not knowing. There's a power in not knowing. There's a power in letting go. There's a power in waiting, a power in stillness, a power in trust. There is a power in letting the disconnected pieces be until they are ready to settle into a whole. The action you are to take will appear timely, clearly, and what you need to do next will appear. Isn't that interesting? Let the pieces be, they'll take shape, and soon you'll see the whole picture just as you were meant to. Isn't that interesting to go, gosh, all is calm and all is bright, even if it doesn't look like it. Now, I don't know how I know I have 5 minutes. Oh, gosh, I have 5 minutes. Jeepers creepers. Because I wanted to read, anybody familiar with John O'Donohoe? The Irish mystic. Wonderful guy. But back to, I was talking to Reverend Catherine before I got there, and she said, well, I said, gosh, I'm so sorry. I mean, I've been, when I called her, I think it was 20 after 10 maybe, and I'd been on the freeway an hour and 20 minutes, and I hadn't even, I mean, I don't even know how far I went. I didn't even go 7 miles. So I said, I'm going to just know that I get there exactly when I'm supposed to. And she goes, well, you know, she was speaking about universal love. I said, oh, that's so funny. I go, let me read you my quote, that there is this universal love and life is vital and we're supposed to just tap into that and just be. I said, so that's all I'm trying to do is just be. And I was talking to my sister on the phone. I go, I'm not doing very good being right now, okay? So she goes, oh, you're sounding crabby. I go, I am crabby. I go, I better hang up. I go, I'll talk to you afterwards. I go, I got to just be. And so I thought, okay, I'm being. So, and it brings you back to say, oh, wait a second. I almost gave away my power to be joyous in this moment. Like if this was the last moment, one of my favorite singers is a Canadian artist, Bruce Cockburn. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but his song is, if this were the last day of the year, what would I do? And he was like, I'd spend time with you. And he was singing it to his love. And I thought, you know, if this were the last day of the world, what am I doing? I mean, what if this was it? What would I do? It's like, are you going to be discontent, or are you just going to be in the sanctuary of the 110 freeway and just, even I wasn't even on the freeway at that point, we were all off, but I thought, just be. And John O'Donohoe has this beautiful, I love this is the book on blessings. It's got all kinds of blessings, beautiful for all kinds of events, but this one was beautiful, I thought. When the light around you lessens and your thoughts darken until your body feels fear turn cold as a stone inside. When you find yourself bereft or any belief in yourself, all your unknowing and learned have fallen. When one voice commands your whole heart and it's raven dark, steady yourself and see that it is your own thinking that darkens your world. Search and you will find a diamond thought in light. Know that you are not alone and that this darkness has purpose. Gradually, it will school your eyes to find the one gift your life requires hidden within the night owner. Invoke the learning of every suffering that you ever have suffered. Close your eyes and gather all the kindling about your heart to create one spark. That's all that you need to nourish the flame that will cleanse the dark of its weight and festered fear. New confidence will come alive to urge you towards a higher ground where your imagination will learn to engage difficulty as its most rewarding threshold. And that message is just, you know what, even when we're going through tough times and stuff hurts our heart or we see things that are out of sorts, stay in that place and know that you are the light of God and that there's this vitality within you that is encouraging you to stay in that calmness, stay in that peace, and stay in that love-centered idea. And it will guide you out of whatever pickle you're in. And I guess that's today's message. So thank you, and I apologize again for being late, and my heart was with you the whole time. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Oh, we're going to do the offering. Yes. Yes, we're going to. Okay. So here's our, yes. Let's take our treasure in the palm of our hands and let's know together. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love. And so it is. Yay! Yes. Oh, I'm glad I'm safe too. Thank you. Thank you. I know. I just kept blessing because I was concerned because some of the people were trying to drive through the protester line, and that can get pretty dicey. And I thought, good God, don't let any of those folks get hit, because I guess a motorcycle blew through and some other people. So I said, God bless you. So I said, you know what? We're just knowing peace and harmony. And they want to be heard. People want to be heard. And, you know, don't we all want peace? I mean, truly. And the idea of peace is just you have to be the peace. You have to be the peace in your own life. That's all we can do. I can't solve the problem in Gaza Strip, but I can solve any unpeacefulness in my own life, and that's where it begins. And then when we do that, we raise the vibration of the entire world, you know? Oh, he's going to share a comment.
A comment from Sydney Glass online. Dr. Blitzer would teach that we must never should on ourselves, to forgive others quickly. Everything that happens, happens for our highest good.
Good, yes. Yes, Dr. Blitzer was Dr. Moira's teacher. So thank you, Sydney. We'll have to meet Sydney sometime. I always hear about Sydney. So Sydney, we'd love to meet you sometime. That'd be wonderful. I think Sydney's in Florida, correct? Yeah, Florida. Well, hi, Florida. All right, you guys, have a beautiful Wednesday. Okay, see ya.